All right, let's talk about something that's probably on your mind every time you use AI. You share something, you type something in, but where does it actually go? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really unpack what's happening with your data. You know how it is. You paste in a little bit of code, a draft of a sensitive email, maybe you ask a kind of personal question. But what happens after you close that window? Does the AI just forget it? Well, as we're about to find out, the answer is way more complicated and honestly, a lot more permanent than you probably think. So, to really get what's at stake here, we have to understand this one core idea: AI memorization. The best way to think about it is that these big models aren't like calculators. No, they're more like a person with a perfect, flawless photographic memory. They don't just learn general patterns, they literally absorb and hold on to specific pieces of information they see. And that, right there, leads us to the fundamental problem. The way these AIs are built, their very architecture, gives them this unforgettable memory. You see, it's not some bug they need to fix, it's a feature of how they work, and it makes truly deleting a piece of data almost impossible. Let's break down why this is such a struggle. First, if your information was ever public on the internet, well, it's pretty likely an AI has already memorized it. Second, these things are so good at understanding context that they can often piece together information even if you think you've scrubbed it clean. But here's the real kicker. Trying to make an AI forget just one little fact is a massive undertaking. We're talking about potentially retraining the entire model from scratch, and that is incredibly expensive and takes forever to do. Okay, so we've established these models have memories like an elephant. So how does our private stuff actually get out there? It's not always the dramatic scene you see in movies, the hacker in a dark room. Turns out there are three main ways your data can leak out. The first, and honestly the most common way, is the one we cause ourselves. People call it shadow AI. This is when someone at work, just trying to be more productive, pastes a piece of confidential company code, or a private client list, or even just some secret meeting notes into a free public AI tool. Sure, you get the summary you wanted, but you've also just handed that private data over to be learned, and maybe repeated. The second way is a bit more sinister. This is a systemic attack. Here, hackers don't need to break into a server. Instead, they just get really clever with their questions. They can actually reverse engineer the AI, tricking it into spitting out the private data it was trained on, whether that's someone's health records or personal emails that were scraped from the web. And that brings us to the third one, which is some truly wild, cutting-edge stuff, the zero-click exploit. Get this. Researchers have shown that an AI can be compromised just by reading a malicious file, like an email attachment or a document. You don't have to click anything. The file itself triggers the AI to start sending your private data from your system over to an attacker. It's scary because you don't even have to be actively using it for the leak to happen. Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty terrifying. But it's really important to know that not all AI tools are built the same. And this brings us to probably the most crucial distinction you can make: the difference between those free versions we all use for fun and the paid enterprise-level tools that businesses rely on. And wow, the difference here is night and day. Look, with the free tools, think the public versions of ChatGPT or Gemini, your chats are absolutely used to train the AI. And yes, actual people might read your conversations. But then you look at an enterprise tool like Microsoft Copilot, and the answer to both of those things is a firm no. Your data is not used for training, and everything is kept in a secure, isolated bubble where no one is peeking. So let's just boil it down to the most critical point. When you're using a free AI, you're not really the customer. Your data becomes public training material for the model. You're part of the product. But with an enterprise version, you are the customer, and your data remains what it should be: yours, private and secure. Period. Now for some good news. It's not just on us as individuals to protect ourselves. Governments all over the world are finally waking up to these massive privacy risks, and they're starting to write some serious rules to hold these tech giants accountable. And believe me, these new regulations have some serious teeth. We're talking huge financial penalties. Take this. Italy hit OpenAI with a €15 million fine because of GDPR violations with its training data. Yeah, that kind of money absolutely gets a company's attention. And it isn't just happening in Europe. Over in India, new rules are forcing big tech companies to hire dedicated data protection officers right there in the country. Meanwhile, in the US, the FTC is cracking down on companies that try to sneakily change their privacy policies to start using your old data for AI training without getting your permission first. It's a real global pushback. So, we've covered the risks, the different kinds of tools, what the law is doing, but what can you do right now to stay safe? Well, that brings us to our final and I think most important section, your personal AI privacy playbook. Look, it comes down to 3 simple but super effective steps. First, and this is a big one, if it's for work and it's even remotely sensitive, just don't use the free AI tools. Push for an enterprise license. Second, make it a habit to redact at the source. That means before you even copy-paste, you manually go in and strip out names, ID numbers, anything secret. And third, and maybe this is the most important mindset shift, just assume whatever you type is permanent and could one day be public. It all comes down to this really powerful idea. Treat the AI like a corporate librarian who has a perfect, permanent memory and loves to share what they know. The bottom line is, if you wouldn't want it whispered to the entire world, just don't tell the AI. So I'll leave you with that thought. If you wouldn't want that information out there tomorrow, should you really be typing it into that little chat box today?